Welcome back. We are working on our front fender today. So, as many of you know, a lot of you know, my front fender set up the old one with the vents combined with the felony form over fenders. Had that cool little vent down here in the bottom. We are going to do the same kind of thing, but we're going to do it a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more simplistic, and less of a hack job. So what we need to do is we need to get this fender mounted, mocked up into place so that we can start kind of attacking below the fender to see what design we really want to go with. So we have the fender kind of mocked up in place. The bolts are loosely in so that we can move the fender around, but a lot of this stuff, like this dent here, we're not worried about because all of this up top is pretty much covered by the over fender. This fender is going to get cut way up high anyways, so we're going to have a lot of, really this is going to be gone. What we're basically focusing on is down here. So if you remember, we cut the other fender was cut way up here. So we cut this body line and we pushed this whole section in. And we pushed it in all the way up to this point here. So it had that recessed suction in. Since our over fender is gonna fit all the way up here, and we're actually gonna have it pulled off just a little bit, it's gonna be spaced out from the fender here, and we have an idea for the back too to match this, but we're gonna try. Last time we did not keep this trim piece, so this trim piece I took off completely, and this was all cut out, filled, smooth, and pushed in. What I'm thinking about this time is I kind of want to keep that trim piece, and I'm gonna push this lower section in. The only thing I have to see and what we can do is our side skirt mounts to this. On our previous one, when I pushed this all in, I kept this area, but I pushed it in with the fender so that our side skirt actually bent in with the rest of the fender. But this time I'm thinking we're gonna take this section here and we're gonna cut it right below the mounting of this, cut it, and we're gonna bend that in and bend it in so it's kind of a curved in, and then we're gonna put vents here, well actually like vents, louvers that way inside this area, so that this is gonna come down, this is gonna pop out, but then our trim piece is gonna be there, and then down here we're gonna have vents, but they're gonna be vent out and they're gonna come up and attach to the over fender. So this is still gonna be there, but we're gonna, I don't know how to explain it, but and I don't have a sketch of it right now, it's just in my head, but that's kind of the idea that we're gonna do. But that may change. I also thought about cutting it above the molding and pushing all that in and keeping the molding attached, but push it in, and then that becomes part of the vents as well. But we're gonna have to play with this a little bit. But I'm gonna go to the drawing board, kind of sketch this out, and come back to you guys with an idea of what I'm actually thinking. But we also need to get the fender, and we need to tape it up so that we can drill our holes, so that I can kind of get this started to mount, so we can kind of see what we're working with, so I can visualize a lot more. So let's grab our fender, let's tape it on so I can kind of get an idea of what we're working with. So we have our fender taped up here, and as you can see, where it kind of sits is right above that molding. And so I kind of want to utilize that where this thing sits to push. I think all of this would look good pushed in from the molding down to here. Not so much this down here, but this area. So I think this area is gonna be our key area. This area is gonna be our key area to cut and push in a little bit. So that's what we're gonna kind of do, but I'm gonna go draw up some stuff and see what I can find, and I will be right back. Okay guys, I honestly don't know where we left off with this fender, but we do have kind of the area that we are going to work with and cut and mess with, but we're gonna mount our top fender with some of our hardware first, here and there, so that we can get this fender kind of mounted up so we can actually get our accurate line to cut, so we know where to cut down here. But we have our other fender for the other side, so let's finish drilling these holes. Let's get that fender mounted. We'll do the same thing to the other side, then we can cut the bottom of our fender. You guys know how to use a rivet gun here, so we're just gonna put this in there, unlock this, and then we're gonna sit here and cinch this down and get it in there so that it's nice and tight and it crushes. Oh god, my hands. Oh god, my wrist. It's getting there. Well, we'll do this for both of them. We'll be back. We have 1, 2 mounted. That gets us tight so that we can kind of see where we are working with here. And my idea, you know, to cut here and here, kind of where the blue tape is, and push it in, that's gonna work perfectly. I was gonna cut below this here and go in, but I have to, we're spacing this fender out like that, like we did before, so I have to build something that ties into this. So where I'm cutting it here is gonna be absolutely perfect. We actually need to go up by just a little bit, so that'll be perfect, because we're gonna bring it out, we're gonna bend it kind of like that, because we need to get a little bit more space on this fender here. So I think it actually ends up being like that, but we'll figure that out when we get there. But we will cut this there and cut that there. We'll leave just a little bit, enough to push this in our distance that we need back here, and then we will kind of see what we got to do, because once we push it in, we'll have to make a piece that goes here and weld it in, make a piece up there to weld it in. But once we do that, we'll do the same thing on the other side so that both fenders actually match, and then we could technically start bolting this stuff up, so when we do get this car all together, it'll actually move and we could drive it around if we had to. So let's get this done. Well guys, we have both fenders kind of mocked up where we want to cut. We're going to cut on the top of that blue line and on top of this blue line on both of them, and then up to the blue line there, and then we'll work on the fender. But let's get this stuff all cut up. So we have our fender, it is all cut, so we're gonna work back and we're gonna get this put on the car so we can kind of see what it looks like. Okay guys, so we have our fender here temporarily put into place with all our stuff. We have our side skirt here kind of in place too, so we can see what we're working with, see where we cut this. So as you can see, our fender's gonna sit here. This is just a rough cut, so we're gonna push this sucker in about that far. So it's a decent amount, not like crazy amount, of fender in, but it is going to be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, I would say. Can you see that right there? About that far on either side. So what we'll do is we'll make a triangle out of metal, sheet metal, and then we'll make it and we'll tack it in here. So we'll make it like a Z. So it'll have it'll come this way, then it'll go down, and that down will sit inside this. The up will go on the back side, and then we'll just tack it all into place. But for now, that looks pretty dang good. I'm gonna put a screw in there. Let's see, do I have any self-tappers? I got a little self-tapper. I'm gonna put a screw in there to hold it so we can see what it's gonna look like. So guys, we are mounted. So our top fender's mounted, our side skirt is on, and you can kind of see the black fender doesn't help, but we are pushed in a pretty good amount. So I think this is gonna be a nice clean look, because our molding is still gonna be on. So our molding is gonna look, from a distance, it's gonna look like the car actually has the molding all the way down, but then it's gonna die into the wheel, and it'll be a pretty cool design. So we have it cut perfectly. So when we pull our fender out, we'll make our little metal tab that comes all the way out, and it'll meet the fender as well. We'll mount the wheel and kind of see where we got to be for all that stuff. But yeah, it actually looks good. Now all we have to do is make our triangle pieces for the top and bottom. I don't have any material for that, so we'll have to go get material and fab this up. So that'll be another day and another video, but we'll fab that up, and I'll show you step by step on how we make our little panels so that this is all smooth. So it's all gonna be red. So red, all this is gonna be red, so it all flows together. And then what I'm thinking, what we'll kind of play with, if you saw on Instagram, are vents. So 2 possible vents that are gonna go here and here in carbon fiber. So it gives it that vented look, but those will be mounted afterwards. So we'll kind of get the idea when we, once we get the metal pieces made and fabbed up and tacked into place, so we can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take some cardboard. We are going to fab up some cardboard templates for top and bottom. They should be the same, but they're gonna be a little bit different. But we'll fab those up so that we have stuff to work with. Let's do it. So as you can see, we got our little cardboard template made. So that's what we're gonna have to make out of cardboard for the top and the bottom. The top's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna have a flip up so we can mount our fender to it. But that is pretty much it. We're gonna make that out of steel. Then we'll tack it into place, and make that a solid piece. Then we'll finish welding it and clean it up and body fill it, and then get the fender ready for paint, along with the upper fender ready for paint, so that we can get everything painted like our back fender, so that we can look like a one color car finally. But we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. But that is it for this video, guys. That is fender video, I believe number 1, no, number 2 maybe. Maybe this is part 2, I don't know. But we're gonna do the same thing the other side, and then we'll come back for part 3, which will be actually making the metal pieces and getting them welded up and getting the fender fixed. But also, we have our RRD adapter bracket coming this weekend, so it should be here by Saturday. So we'll be able to get that on and get our throttles mounted, and then we can get our airbox mounted, and we get everything. The only thing we won't have is the throttle linkage. He's sending that separately because he's revising it. As you saw in Jimmy's video, the 1-to-1 makes the throttle either 0 or 100. So he stepped it down to a 2-to-1 so that it is a progressive throttle. So it's going to be a lot more easy drivable. Castle is sending out a tune for us so we can actually get the car running and driving perfectly. But once we get that on, get the motor all buttoned up, we can actually get this cleaned up so that we can actually damn near drive this car. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next video. Next video will be RRD stuff. It'll be all the install videos on that. Part 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna do a whole bunch of install videos on that, so you guys have a step-by-step of what's going on. Like, comment, subscribe, send me messages if you have any questions on anything we're doing. I can help you out as much as I can. Instagram to ArcSlave84. Find me on there, and we're good to go on this. We're getting there, guys. Getting there eventually. See you next video.